Gentlemen, the time has come once again to discuss things.
I'm not so
I mean, yeah, but at the same time, it sucks that you get forced to make something you don't want to do. Like, I completely understand stuff like that.
yeah. Since this is actually getting close to a point I want to make while we're doing the review, you mind if we go ahead and get started?
Sure. White collar, right?
Yep.
Awesome.
Alright. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Geeky Gentlemen. I am Sid Part 2, and joining me today is Steve Baxey for his first mini-sode on Geeky Gentlemen.
Hooray, I'm tiny. Mini, tiny, I'm not going for any other joke aside from that.
Oh, this is off to just a fantastic start.
Isn't it?
You just killed this episode with a pun, and it's not even a good pun.
No, it's not.
Alright, anyway, so today we're reviewing the USA, right?
Yes, USA Network. Not the country, just the network.
Yeah, the USA television series White Collar. This show started in 2009, and I know that because I'm looking at the screen on Netflix right now. It started in 2009, and it has, Henry Cavill's twin, slightly skinnier brother as the lead role, and it's about an FBI agent and a con artist working together to save the world.
Essentially.
At least that's what I got from it. So, I'm sorry, I thought you were going to say something. Anyway, so, the thing that made me want to do this video is, I don't know if it was on recording or off recording, but Steve said that he's watched White Collar, and that got it in my head, and then Haley asked me if there was a show. She was like, you know that thing with Netflix where you watch all of a show and then you need a new show?
Yeah.
So she was asking me if there's a show that she should watch. I was like, oh, White Collar. And then so I watched the pilot with her. And then it just, even though I've watched like 2 to 3 seasons of this before and quit out after the first episode of the 4th season because it's awful.
Yes, it is.
Even though I watched the first 3 seasons before, I'm sitting there and it's been long enough that I'm like, wow, this is really frickin' good. I'm going to start watching it again. So I basically, binged the first season, and now I'm like, 6 episodes into the second. So, I don't know, I just wanted to talk about White Collar, and Steve seemed like he had an interesting opinion on it. So, Steve, what are your general thoughts on White Collar?
I like White Collar. Okay, USA Network's a very strange thing. Because everything it produces, at least for the most part, is completely original programming, and it just riffs on popular genres. Like, this is a police procedural, Suits is a legal drama, Psych is like another police procedural, but with a comedy spin to it. So, yeah. You can kind of get any genre you want out of USA Network, and chances are it's different enough to kind of hook you for at least a season. Mm-hmm. So I watch Burn Notice, I watch Psych, I watch Suits, all that stuff, and they have this pattern of they all start really, really well. All of their first seasons are always fantastic.
Yeah.
And then you get like 2 or 3 seasons in, and it's terrible. Not with Psych, I actually think Psych gets better, but still.
Uh-huh.
So with White Collar, all I ever saw of it was like, there's a poster, and this guy has a really cool suit and really cool blue eyes, so I'm going to watch it.
Oh, so he got you with the Neil Caffrey dreamy eyes.
Yes, he did. I mean, it was just a really cool, well-designed poster, like with the handcuff going down as a letter in the word and stuff. I thought it was really well made. So, it's a strange thing. It's a show that I think, at the end of the day, it's best to enjoy it as just plain good-humored fun. Maybe a guilty pleasure when you get to season 4. But you shouldn't try to take this seriously. And it tries to be drama, it tries to be really, really kind of in your face about how interrelationships and stuff work. But at the end of the day, you should just think about it as it's a fun show with some good actors and good banter. And that's actually the consensus I come down on with every USA Network show.
I think I'd agree with that. See, like I said, I'm only in the good part of it now. You know, for the most part, spare 1 or 2 episodes. But I remember how disappointed I was by the first episode of season 4.
Oh, it's so bad.
To the point where I quit watching the damn show. And I know, like, season 4's on Netflix now, and season 5's about to be relatively soon, since they're starting up a 6th season.
Which will be effectively the final season, I believe.
Oh, okay. I don't know. We'll see. No, it's a very interesting, like, premise. I don't think I've seen anything quite like this before. And I think my general thought on it it's at its best when it really sticks to its premise, which is it's a con artist, and particular emphasis on the artist part of that, working with the police and against the police, FBI, and against the FBI simultaneously. And that's what a lot of the first season is. And that's the really interesting stuff. The best stuff in the show is when Neil is playing both sides.
Yeah.
And then there are really, really weak filler episodes that unfortunately fill way too much of the show. But I'm pulling this both from memory and from rewatching season 1 already. That just, Neil's a cop, and it doesn't work when Neil's a cop.
I guess I'll disagree a little bit. I think it can work really well when Neil's a cop. Like, when you get to season 4, the idea behind it, the whole conceit, the whole kind of finagling they do to get Neil to that position isn't a bad idea. It's just poorly executed. I think Neil works as a cop. Like, one of the things about the show is that how can you make a criminal change if you constantly treat him like one? And how can you not treat him like one if he always behaves like one? So, I mean, there's a dilemma there, and it's an interesting dilemma, and it works because the actors understand that. I just don't think the script does.
Yeah, it is really one of those cases of, even though I hated the beginning of season 4, to the point where I quit watching.
It's bad. It's just so bad, I understand.
Yeah, but still, dude, the guy, Matt Bomer and, Bomer?
Boomer. I think it's Boomer,
okay.
at least.
That's, like, not even close to pronunciation. You need another O in there. God damn it.
I mean, that's how he pronounces, as far as I know.
Okay, no, I'm just saying fucking spelling. Anyway.
Accent, we'll just leave it at that.
Matt and Tim. Tim plays Peter, right?
Yes, Tim DeKay.
Yeah. Matt and Tim are just so damn good.
Oh, yeah.
They, like, it is that case of the actor the actor makes the material better than it is. And it should really tell you something about the beginning of season 4 of just how awful the script is that couldn't even save it, because these two carry this show. Season 1 has some stinker episodes.
It does.
It's a really good season, but it has a couple of really bad episodes. And so, like, I don't know, I think that you're bringing up an interesting point, though, with the idea of, like, getting him to this like, very long, very drawn-out character arc of not being a criminal anymore. But, I don't know, I don't enjoy the episodes where Neil is... let me rephrase it. I don't like the episodes where Neil is a cop. I like the episodes where Neil is getting some of the cop sensibilities. Because a lot of episodes, I feel like they just write him just like another police partner. And that's annoying because, you know, it's like, why are you even there? You're just a book at this point.
That's fair, yeah. Something that's really annoying about the show, and I'm glad that you did bring that up, maybe why I resist Neil just being a thief and not being more of a cop, is because every season has the same conflict. Literally, every season will have the same conflict. It's Neil is a con artist and he's a police officer and his loyalties are tied, so him and Peter don't trust each other. Then they magically get back together at the beginning of the season, and by the end of the season they don't trust each other. And then that's recycled 5 times. 5 times. Every season opens the exact same way where they don't trust each other, and then they get an appreciation for what they're doing. And you can only sell it so many times. Like, Tim DeKay is a veteran actor. He was in Seinfeld. He was in Murder, She Wrote. He was in CSI. Like, he's done things. He knows how to play around with stereotypes. He knows how to make a performance interesting, even if the script isn't that great. But you can only do it so many times. Like, season 5 is pretty bad, I think.
I haven't fucking watched it.
Yeah, like, that's kind of the issue, is just... It's hard to care about any of these characters if they just keep doing the same thing over and over again. But what saves it for me is exactly like you mentioned, like when Tim DeKay and Matt Boomer are together on screen. And, like, again, that's the same thing with every USA show. Why do you watch Burn Notice? Because Bruce Campbell and Jeffrey Donovan. Why do you watch Suits? Because of, what's his name? Gabriel Mock and whoever plays Mike Ross. Why do you watch this? White Collar. Why do you watch Psych? Because of Sean and Gus. Like, they get these buddy cop roles down really well, and they get banter down really well. But I don't think USA as a studio can handle long-term storytelling.
Well, like, they really do need that kind of, not Lost, but what's another show that, like, revolved around a long-term story? Because
Breaking Bad.
The USA show there you go, Breaking Bad. The USA show that you didn't mention that has the most disappointing reveal for the long-term story of all time is Monk.
Oh, I don't even watch Monk, actually.
Have you ever watched... if you do, it's detective story. That's fun and everything. Don't watch the last episode. Just save yourself from that. Just let the mystery continue. Don't let yourself find out, because it's awful.
Oh, okay. It's like the yin-yang thing at the end of Psych.
Yeah. I haven't gotten to the end of Psych yet, but thanks.
Well, I mean, that was like season, 4, 5?
Oh, you talking about when RoboCop was the serial killer?
Essentially, yeah. It was so bad.
Yeah, I agree with that. No, it's 10 times worse than that.
Oh.
And that's what makes me like... That's why when you said season 6 is going to be dead, I'm like, oh, I might watch that. And I was like, reverse. Remember what they did to Monk. Yeah, I think that they lose it. And USA is a network that is entirely devoted to a formula that is friendly to repeat episodes.
Yeah.
Like, they love their shows that you can have just completely episodic and you don't have to know much about the overall story of a season or the show itself. And so, what's Neil trying to do in season 1? Get back with his girlfriend. And that's the main driving thing that pulls everything else together throughout the season. And I don't remember. Is Kate alive after season 2?
No, she dies in the end of season 1.
Yeah, I thought so. I wasn't sure if it was like, they finagled it or not.
No. I mean, some of her storylines do come up in season 2, but she's essentially killed off at the end of the first season. You won't see much of her ever again.
She must have been a really awful actress.
I like her as an actress. I don't know why they just felt the need to get rid of her so quickly.
It was weird, because, like, she's this, fucking Wizard of Oz character in season 1, and then she just blows up.
It was strange. There is a flashback episode, though, where you figure out how she and Neil first met, and that's a really good episode.
Yeah, I remember that one. That was really cool. No, but, like, I see some of the shit I remember, some of it I don't. I don't know why. It was that long ago that I watched it. I mean, the show only came out in 2009, but,
yeah, it's still new.
Yeah, anyway. No, like... to get back to my point, USA likes just producing a lot of seasons of a show that works with a very strict formula, and I think that gets in the way of their shows being able to evolve their characters, because what happens is you have to contrive a way for the characters to go back to square one, and that's what happens, as you said, at the beginning of every season of White Collar.
Yeah.
And that's why I think, like, the criminal aspect of it is the most entertaining, because season 3 of White Collar, that's the one where they've hidden the art away from the end of season 2, right?
I believe so, yeah. I always blur the line between those season 3 and 4, but yeah, I think that's season 3.
Okay, so yeah, season 2 was with the submarine, and then they get the art at the end.
Yeah, because there's the whole thing with the music box and
hide
Fowler and all that.
Yeah, and then they're trying to find a way to hide it throughout all of Season 3 and get away with it, and then at the end of Season 3 they get away, which leads into the beginning of the awful, awful, awful Season 4.
Yeah.
No, so, like, they just work so hard throughout the season. They actually do manage, even though you've, like, you know, kicked your, you know, you've sent your characters back to start, they don't get to collect $200. Every season they do that, but through the season it's so damn interesting, at least with the first 3 seasons, that you're kind of okay with it, and then it just pisses you off when you get to the beginning of the next season.
I'm glad that you used a Monopoly joke, because it's exactly like Monopoly. It's a game that it never ends, it just keeps going forever and forever, and it's frustrating as all hell, but doesn't mean you won't stop playing it.
Exactly. And no, so that's why I think that the show works so much better when Neil is just a criminal, and he's trying to play both sides, and when he's got his own agenda, but he's still a good person. And this leads me to the point I wanted to make to Steve in our conversation before we started the video, and that is that whoever like created the premise of the show and whoever writes the good episodes of the show should write a Catwoman movie, because that's how you should play Catwoman.
I can see that, yeah.
Yeah, that occurred to me as I was watching this. I'm like, yes, just make Catwoman like that classy, old school, like, good and bad criminal kind of thing. You know, that heart of gold kind of character that just is always playing something to get around on somebody, but ultimately will do the right thing if they have to. You know, that's how you do Catwoman, everybody. And that's what I like about the show, is it has that potential to be really good when it's written well, but other times it's awful.
I guess we're making it sound worse than it is, because I think even when it's bad, it doesn't mean it's not enjoyable.
That's fair. With the exception of Season 4, Episode 1.
Well, see, like, even Season 4 being ridiculous, and the whole thing with Neil's dad being this really melodramatic piece of bullshit, it's still fun to watch, and a lot of that has to do with the actors, and a lot of that has to do with just the fact that as archetypes, as really, really bland stereotypes, as just kind of really shallow, one-dimensional characters, these guys are fun. Like, I would want to be Neil in some universe, so much so that my latest haircut is actually a Matt Boomer haircut. And I walk around with suits and a fedora and everything, and I was doing that before Neil, but man, if they want to call me Neil Caffrey, why not? Like, the same thing with Michael Weston in Burn Notice, same thing with Harvey Specter in Suit, same thing with Sean in Psych. Like, USA has this thing, and I guess we're talking really generally about USA Network along with White Collar, but USA has this thing where they're great with concepts, they're great with casting, and they have that logo, Characters Welcome, and they're great with, like, very basic character interactions. If you got all the stars of all the shows on USA together, it would be the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, I was so pissed that they never did a crossover with Monk and Psych, because they did, like, commercials with them together, and, like, I don't know why the TV crossover isn't a thing that happens anymore, but it pisses me off.
Yeah, I mean, like, Psych took a lot from Monk, White Collar could take a lot from Suits. Like, they're shows that work very well in one universe. And I guess to bring it back to White Collar a little bit, is when these shows are good, they are generally very good. Like, Season 1 of White Collar is actually really well done. Season 1 of Suits is a great season of television. So it's not like they're irredeemable. What gets me is that whenever it hits its highlight, it's also when it hits its biggest low.
How so?
So with White Collar, the first season, it's maybe arguably the best, only because it's short, it's concise, it has fewer problems. So you get this very basic story. It's all about just Neil being a CI, and he's kind of battling whether or not he still wants to be a thief or he wants to be a cop, and it's an interesting enough conflict. And that's just the core of the show. Like, that's the basic thing, and that's what makes it work, is that there's a built-in conflict for these characters based on their circumstances, so whenever you manipulate the circumstances a little bit, you can get a character reaction out of it. The problem is, when these writers don't know how to measure plot with character reaction, so they give you minor plot points, and characters do 180s for no reason. Like, they've built a great machine. They've built a machine to where characters and plot have to work together. They just don't know how to make that work.
That's interesting, because, like, I love the first season, and I think the biggest problem with the first season is, not that it's too short, but I feel like there's this, contract between author and viewer, or reader, whatever you want to call it, in that you have to conclude your story. I have nothing against cliffhangers, but the entire end of Season 1 is a cliffhanger. Like, if this show hadn't gotten picked up for a second season, you would have no idea what anything is. And I think that's a problem, is that the show doesn't resolve enough of its things, enough of its threads at a time.
Yeah.
And that causes a really big issue, because, yeah, Season 3, they're still dealing with the fucking music box.
Yeah.
And that's insane. That's like too much build-up and not enough payoff, guys.
Yeah, I mean, Peter and Neil's relationship doesn't progress any until you get to, like, Season 4.
That's craziness.
I know, Season 5 is back to Season 1 level status quo, but they don't do anything as far as, like, a major leap in terms of these guys as friends or enemies until you get to Season 4.
That's crazy.
Yeah, like you said, they don't know how to pay things off. Do you want to get into some of the positives of the show, since we're kind of, like, bashing it a little bit? And I still actually do enjoy the show.
I think the show is ingenious, and it does separate itself from a lot of the other USA shows, in that there isn't a dead body every single episode.
Yeah.
And so it gets to take all that elaborateness and ingenuity that the writers put into killing people on the other shows, and use it towards, frankly, I think, amazingly brilliant, if maybe a little bit contrived, cons. And some of them I think you could possibly actually get away with.
Yeah, I mean, Neil's whole con to get out of jail in the pilot is great.
Yeah,
and then everything up until he gets to that house and gets all the free suits, all of that's genius.
Mm-hmm. There's that, and, like, toward the end of Season 1, when they steal the music box from the Italian embassy or consulate or whatever it is.
Yeah, the consulate.
Yeah, I just thought that was so fucking smart. He put the goddamn tools inside the statue that he donated. That was genius.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
I love heist movies. Like, say what you will about the Ocean's films, they're a ton of fun, and that's what the show is when it's really good. And I think it's really good when they're doing heist stuff, as opposed to, just cutting Neil's anklet and waiting for the cops to show up.
Yeah.
As someone points a gun. I mean, like, why doesn't anyone just shoot him? Come on!
He's too likable, I assume. But yeah, you're right. Like, I would say, like, this show has something of a fashion sense, where it knows exactly when to be extravagant, and it knows exactly when to bring it back down a little bit. You got that great thing in Season 3, where Neil is, like, locked in a closet because Spear doesn't trust him. So he has a hole through the ceiling, he goes up to the top of the building, steals a painting, and then parachutes down to the bottom of the building, gets his hat, and then goes back and locks himself in the closet acting like he never moved. And it's fantastic. But then you complement that with the fact that at the end of the episode, you've still got, like, a nice heated argument between Peter and Neil, and it's not just about the situation at hand, it's about, like, their situation as a whole. Like, how hard is it for someone that believes in nothing but the thrill of life to work with someone that believes in nothing but the rigidness of life?
Yeah. And then there's, like, there's great stuff with just the amount of stunt work they do. Like, I love that moment in Season 1 where Fowler had framed Neil for forging the diamond.
Oh, yeah.
And so he has Mozzie, who's a fantastic character, buy the bakery next door to the judge's chambers and put out an awning and he does a swan dive out of the judge's chambers and lands on the awning right in front of Peter. And it's just, there's something so damn charming about that style of, like, you know, that, I guess, I hate to use the same word, but that stylized, like, beautiful crime kind of thing. There's just something to that that's so much fun to watch, and I don't know what it is.
Yeah, something about White Collar is you emphasize the word artist when we said con artist, because Neil's also an artist, and most of his things are about like paintings and knowledge of painters and such. And the show is always playing on the fringes of it knows art. It's really highbrow art. It understands art, and it's not snobby about it. It's just visually and acting wise. It's showing you that art is exciting and art is fun, and you don't have to be a really snooty old guy in a suit to comprehend it, which Neil does on a constant basis, where he makes guys like those look like idiots, because you don't have to be on that level to appreciate the art.
Yeah.
And one of the downfalls of the show, maybe, but also one of the positives, is that in keeping with that style, it never completely immerses an episode into like just appreciation of art. It knows how to keep you entertained, it knows how to keep you visually engaged, and it can teach you something about, like, Degas.
Yeah, I guess. I don't think I picked up much info, or much... I don't think I gleaned much about art history from the show, but then again, I probably am not watching closely enough in that case.
I mean, that's the thing, is that sometimes it's more apparent than other times, and it might even work better if before Neil makes a forgery of something, he explains what he's doing or something like that, just to get kind of like a burn notice thing of every time he does something cool, you get to see him explain why this works.
Yeah, but then you run the risk of, like, someone learning how to forge paintings.
I mean, hey, burn notice taught us how to break into CIA headquarters. I mean, if they can do that...
Oh, well, yeah, because that would totally work. No, but I mean, I suppose they did that a little bit when they were doing a painting in Season 1, and he's like, go put it in the oven. Preheat to 125. I know how to age a painting. And there's just little interactions like that that are really fun to watch. It's interesting because this has, you're talking about the buddy cop dynamic that a lot of these shows have, but this has almost like that, I don't know, what is Mozzie in this show, I guess?
That's a good question. He's almost a goofy sidekick, but he's more than that. You know, he's got a personal connection to Neil, and he's his own fleshed out character. He's not just a sidekick.
Yeah, he's brilliant, and he's so much fun to watch. He's got to be, like, the worst con man of all time, because every time he goes into, like, playing a part, he's so damn obvious compared to, you know, Caffrey, who just sells it, but I think that's part of the charm of it.
Yeah, Mozzie's got everything in his head. I like to think of Mozzie as the sane Hugo Strange, where he understands everything about his counterpart in explicit detail. He just lacks the genetic ability to replicate it himself.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. Mozzie and Neil are just fantastic together. If nothing else, those two deserve to spin off together without Peter.
See, I would watch, like, well, you really couldn't, because they did, like, 2 or 3 prequel episodes where you basically get the whole fucking origin.
Oh, did they? Oh, yeah, they did the whole thing with, like, how Neil first met, Kate and all that, and Mozzie.
Yeah, and, like, they, you know, take out all the important stuff. But I would totally watch a Neil and Mozzie prequel series. That would be so much fun.
Yeah, like, one of the best things about after they escape with the art is that it's almost an entire episode of just Neil and Mozzie.
Yeah, and then they somehow manage to think it's a good idea to try to con police officers with a fucking mirror, and it ruins everything, and you already have the contrivance of this magical FBI felon. God.
It gets pretty bad.
It just leaves a bad taste in your mouth, and you just feel like you need a shower after watching the first episode of Season 4.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. I mean, Season 4 is bad, I know, but, like...
I haven't watched... No, I can't comment about Season 4, because I found the first episode of Season 4 so awful that I gave up.
Maybe we should talk about what makes Season 4 bad, though, because you hate the pilot, you can get into that, and I'll just get into the rest of the season.
Alright, well, like, so from what I remember, they somehow managed to figure out that Neil's on a remote island based on bells and the fact that he's on a beach when he calls them, which...
Doesn't make sense.
I guess you can argue it's a character thing, but still...
There's no possible way that could work, but yeah.
So anyway, they managed to find out where he is, and then, like, Peter gets there, and he saves Neil's life because they find out that the rich guy who owns the island and the police is, like, this most wanted felon, like, that's escaped from the FBI and has been, on their radar for years and years, to the point where Peter learned about him in school, and he had a rhyme about his sailboat that he had to remember for the test, and that's how he was able to identify the guy.
Really campy.
Yeah, and then they steal something, or they try to steal from him to make the authorities think that he can't bribe them anymore to betray him. And it's just, like, the show is based a lot on convenience. I get that. But it is one gigantic convenience after another to the point where it's completely unpalatable.
Yeah, and that's something that stays pretty much the rest of the way through in that season. The whole story behind Season 4 is, after at the end of Season 3, you meet someone from Neil's past. And Season 4 deals with the fact that Neil's dad was a police officer, albeit a corrupt police officer, and they're trying to unravel the mystery of that. Of, like, who is Neil's dad really, and what happened to him, and was he set up, was he not set up, yada yada yada. And, like you said, there's just a lot of conveniences to get you to the conclusion. And when you meet Neil's dad, and you see Neil first realize that's him, it's gotta be one of the most soap opera moments I've ever seen on television. Like... This is how they play it, literally, where he gets off the phone, and Matt Boomer just has his mouth open for 5 minutes, and he turns to the guy who's sitting down on a chair, and he's like, "Why didn't you tell me?" And he's like, "Tell you what?" And then he's like, "That you're my father." And then they just close up on his face and end it, and they play that exact scene over like 3 times before continuing the next episode. It's pretty insane.
I'm speechless. How would he not recognize him? Did he never meet him?
His dad left him when they were really, really young. I could see it, maybe, but they're way too... Immediately after that, they discover that they have everything in common, and there's no way Neil wouldn't have picked up on that.
That's so crazy.
It's, they get into this territory of Neil's dad wasn't a bad guy, except at the end when he is a bad guy because the plot requires him to be a bad guy. And it's frustrating. The last episode of Season 4, I think, might be one of the worst. Not because Neil's character doesn't go anywhere, not because Peter's character doesn't go anywhere. It's that they contrive a situation to where Neil's dad is now officially the bad guy, and all of Peter and Neil's character work and all of their relationships and everything they've built over the season gets crushed by that. And it's all naturally done, but the plot point that made it happen is extremely contrived. It's built on a faulty premise, I guess would be the best way to say it. Okay. So no matter how good the acting or how good the character work is, it's built on a terrible premise and it doesn't work at the end of the day.
Alright. That's interesting, I guess. I don't know. Like, so much of, like I said, Season 4's pilot just... Because I really enjoyed the end of Season 3. I know that there's a lot of stinker episodes between Seasons 1 and 3.
Yeah.
But I felt 3 had a really strong ending that made sense. And, like, I'd binge watched all of those at the time that I was going through it, and then Season 4 was going to start relatively soon after I finished. So I had just enough time to think about what they could do, and what it looked like they were going to do based on the, commercials. And what I wanted was an entire season of Peter, Neil, and Mozzie running. That would have been awesome. But we didn't get that.
Yeah, this show doesn't cash in enough on Mozzie. You get that episode where you figured out like where Mozzie came from, what he was like as a kid, and that's all fine and good, but there needs to be more of a focus on that guy.
Yeah, he's too much fun not to.
There is that great episode, though, about conspiracies and this mysterious flag that disappeared during the Revolutionary War and spies from that time. And it's all just Mozzie wishing his parents were spies and stuff, and it's a really fascinating episode. That's
interesting. We're getting close to wrapping up, but there are just a couple of small things I wanted to mention real quick. I guess I've just been noticing this in Season 2, but they shoot a lot of Burke and Elizabeth's scenes in green screens, and I don't know why.
They do?
Yeah, I was just noticing it in Season 2 mostly. Like, they're having dinner in Rockefeller Square, but something just looked off about it, and I kept, like, looking at it, and I'm like, oh, they're obviously on a green screen. I wonder why they had to do that. Then I see another scene with them in, like, a public like a street-side restaurant, and they're obviously on a green screen. And then there's another episode where, like, Elizabeth calls him, and she's obviously on a green screen.
Weird.
And I don't know why. They shoot everything else on the streets of New York. It's just weird.
I guess my best educated guess as to why that is might be just that the show uses an absurd budget to get certain things done, so maybe that's their one cost-cutting measure. I
guess I don't know. It's something weird that jumped out to me. Let's try to end this on a good note. I just watched the episode that introduces one of my favorite characters in the show.
Oh,
which is the insurance agent.
Oh, Sarah, she's fantastic.
No, wait, is that Sarah?
Yeah, that's Sarah.
I was thinking Alice, because I was thinking of Alex, too. Sorry.
Alex Hunter is awesome, too.
Yeah, Alex and Sarah are just great characters. These are really good, strong female characters, and I really enjoy that about them.
Alex is essentially Catwoman.
Yeah, I know. That's what got Catwoman plot in my head. I might just make a video about a Catwoman movie pitch at this point.
Maybe.
But no, I really like Alex and Sarah quite a bit. Sarah particularly because she's butting heads with Neil, and that's really interesting because they do have natural chemistry. And yeah, they go through a fling for a while, don't they?
Yeah. Their relationship is kind of the focus for a later season, and they're one of the bigger plots of the season 4 finale.
Okay. Yeah, I like Sarah as a character, and she's really fun. And Alex is just a really cool character that really does the whole Catwoman thing of, you can't trust me and you can trust me. You can't trust me and you can trust me. Back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah, they're lots of fun. Those actresses are really well done, really well at their roles. They never feel like they're overdoing it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I really like that character and the dynamics that they have with those characters. Those are really fun. And I guess that kind of brings us full circle to what we kind of started out talking about, which is the reason to watch this show is to watch it as fun, because what's awesome about it is just seeing the characters interact with each other and having fun with whatever crazy scenario they're in.
Yeah, if nothing else, this show realizes that it's not the most serious drama. It really is just kind of a really fun, high-concept thing with really likable characters.
And yeah, and a lot of the times it'll have a really fun, sequence that makes you go, ah, awesome!
Yeah, I mean...
And I think those are the high points.
Yeah, exactly. Matt Boomer is a fun actor, and Neil has such an infectious style. So every now and then you get a scene with Neil, and he just does something, and it's awesome, and you can't explain why. Even if it doesn't make any logical sense, it's a fun experience, if nothing else.
Well, I was watching the episode where it was, some students in a criminology class had stolen his crime.
Oh, that's a fun episode.
Yeah, and, he's in the bar with them, and he puts his hat down on a shot. He goes, $20, I can drink that shot without touching that hat.
Oh, yeah.
And he covers his mouth and goes, done. They're like, no, you're not. It's done. And I go, come on. And they lift the hat to look, and he grabs the shot real quick and drinks it.
That's great.
It's just bar hustling like that. There's just something about it.
Then the whole moral of that bar scene is never think you're the smartest guy in the room unless you're Neil.
Yeah.
It's great fun.
Awesome stuff. No, but I'm not sure what it is that brought me back into the show as much as I am right now. And I'm gonna watch season 4. And it sounds like I have a lot to look forward to.
Season 5 isn't that bad. It's bad.
Okay.
It's not that bad.
Oh, thanks.
It's an improvement over season 4, okay?
Okay, good. Thank you, Steve. Alright, so let's go ahead and do a score here. You go first. I gotta think of one.
Alright, okay, White Collar I would give... I do everything on 5-point scales, just, I guess to keep that going. I would give White Collar a 3.5... 3.5 out of 5 very fancy tailor-made suits.
Okay. I give White Collar, 3.5 out of 5, alleged stolen paintings that I have under my couch.
Alleged keyword.
Exactly. You can't look because it's just alleged.
Yeah, I think 3.5 is the perfect score because it's just above average.
Yeah. Alright, everyone. So thank you for listening. This is a lot of fun. Steve, I will let you pick the next mini whenever you come up with something. Let me know. We'll do another mini because this is too much. These are fun to do, and I want to try to bring them back more. They're too sporadic.
Yeah.
I want to try weekly minis if that's possible with just different people. So let me know if you come up with something, man.
Yeah, of course. USA is always a great place to search for minis.
Oh, maybe. I guess that's the problem, is we kind of reviewed White Collar and USA Network here.
We did. I mean, they have other shows that are more involved. I just think White Collar is the perfect epitome of everything that is USA Network.
True. Alright, everyone. Thank you for listening, though. Until next time, I'm the Philosopher.
And I'm the Politician.
And we are your Geeky Gentlemen. And we will be discussing